are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 216 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, @boy on Twitter, and we're here to talk today about the latest in Auburn football recruiting as they pick up two new names, one being a transfer from Colorado, we're talking about in just a second, and of course, Alvin Henderson from a couple of days ago. But I just want to point out, this is not a live stream today. We'll still be doing live streams in the future. I will not be in my office this evening because we are going out to dinner for my mom's birthday. So pre-recording it ahead of time. That way I can have content up and I don't have to cancel another live stream this week or another episode this week, really. But starting off with the transfer, Auburn picked up safety Jacquez Robinson out of Colorado. Last year had 2 starts, had an interception, had a few tackles, but not a lot of PT. He had 9 tackles, 1 for loss. There you go, with 7 appearances for the Buffaloes. He was originally a 4-star commit in the class 2020, going to Alabama, was there for 3 years, only really played in 1 of them, and then transferred to Colorado. Now he is coming back to the state of Alabama to play with the Auburn Tigers. I don't see this as a huge potential starter. I do believe he only has like a year or 2 of eligibility remaining. So a good depth piece to kind of add to Auburn's already stacked and loaded secondary room. So good pickup. It surprised me. He's been in the portal since January. So found himself a home, but again, I don't see this as a player who's going to be getting into the rotation right away, especially with the loads of talent that Auburn has been picking up in the portal and in the high school realm in the secondary. Of course, like Jalen Crawford and Amon Lane possibly being contributors right away as true freshmen. So good pickup. Becomes Auburn's 15th player picked up in the portal. They currently stand number 11 per On3's transfer portal rankings. But as the episode suggests, Auburn currently in contention for the top spot in the class 2025, currently up to number 5 in the country, number 3 in the SEC, right behind Alabama, LSU, of course, and right behind Ohio State, Notre Dame as well at 1 and 3 respectively. This is kind of because Auburn hasn't picked up a 5-star yet, which is crazy because outside of words are hard. Holy crap! Including with Notre Dame. There's only 2 teams in the top 6 that don't have a 5-star. But Notre Dame does have 1 more 4-star than Auburn does. But time will tell how much longer it'll be before Auburn picks up a 5-star. I think that this class is going to be absolutely ridiculous right off the bat. I was assuming Auburn's going to be 2026 before they started going for that number 1 spot. Now, really getting aggressive. Picking up Alvin Henderson, of course, flipping him from Penn State, a running back who we were fairly confident in originally committing to Auburn, but didn't win, instead committed to Penn State. But after he committed to Penn State, was still hearing from Coach Nix, still hearing from Coach Freeze, still hearing from Auburn just in general. And lo and behold, he turns around and he flips his commitment to Auburn. This was something that we pretty much saw coming eventually. I don't know anybody who didn't think Alvin Henderson was going to be a Tiger when it all said and done. 5'9", 200 pounds. Out of Elba, Alabama, Auburn picking up yet another top 20 player in the state of Alabama, but another 4-star in and of himself. So a huge pickup last year playing for Elba, 30,523 yards on the ground and scoring 61 touchdowns. A just crazy amount. Include that with the 7 touchdowns that he got elsewhere, which tied him for 7th most touchdowns all time in a single high school football season in the country. That's according to Max Prep. So just an amazing stat line. If you even go through his sophomore year, he had 2,600 rushing yards with 47 touchdowns. Then his freshman year, 1,100 yards with 24 touchdowns. Just a elusive, quick, just agile running back that Auburn finally got their guy that you're looking forward as probably the next installment of great Auburn running backs. And I don't believe this is going to be the last time you hear from Auburn getting a running back in this class. I do know that Usman Kroma is a huge target for Auburn, trying to get that 2 running back pair because Auburn was not able to get one in the last year's class. So really trying to build up that room more and more with more stars. Getting another 4-star would be amazing. And especially if you look down the line, Auburn is still trying to probably get a quarterback. Juju Lewis, I believe, is still like a heavy target. And of course, there's other guys in the class that Auburn is steadily trying to get. And then, of course, you go to the Caleb Cunningham, the number 1 wide receiver in the class for a lot of people. It is just outstanding watching Auburn work and watching what Hugh Freeze has done for the Auburn Tigers. And I mean, holy cow. The fact that we are going into year 2 of the Hugh Freeze era, and we're already talking about Auburn maybe having a top like 1 class, top 2 class in the country. And of course, you're going to have to still battle out with Alabama for a lot of these guys. You're still going to try to have to flip a lot of guys. A lot of guys with offers from Auburn are still being recruited by Auburn that are committed elsewhere. But it's just so cool and awesome to see Auburn finally getting back into the realm of competing. I know we've talked about it several times, where I think last week we talked about how Auburn might be the team to beat for a lot of these recruits in the state of Alabama. And it's starting to come true. I mean, Auburn is still very much winning the state of Alabama. They'll have to go out and about to get these other guys too. Alabama, known for recruiting well in their own state, but also recruiting well in Georgia, recruiting well in the entire Southeast, recruiting well in California. So time will tell where this class is going to end up, but I am very excited where this class is going to end up. And Auburn even recruiting very well the class 2026, a top 5 class there as well. Already having a lot of Chris Balls come up for 2 4-star linebackers, and Shadarius Tootle and Jamichael Garrett. 2 big pickups that would be huge for Auburn to get and help build a class of the future for the Tigers. And I mean, we're now 69 days away from Auburn football coming back. We're 63 days away from just football in general, college football in general being back. In the hype around Auburn football right now is at an exponential level of hype. This is a level of, you're going to be able to see guys like Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Morris Williams, all those big guys that Auburn picked up in the last year's class. That I know we kind of talked about this before, as how the class 2023 was to have a roster like filled up. The class 2024 was the first step in Auburn reaching where the pinnacle of where they want to be. And then you get 2025 and 2026 are going to be, this is where Auburn starts competing for the national realm. This is where Auburn starts competing for the SEC titles, trying to get back in the national title potential. And there's a chance you could see a glimpse of that this year. At least you're really banking on seeing a little bit of it this year. But overall, looking at trying to get quarterbacks to come in, trying to get running backs to fill up the rosters, trying to get more and more talented wide receivers, because that's what you see a lot from the guys that are winning championships. Georgia has a bunch of 5 stars, and of course also have SEC level talent from the transfer portal realm. Alabama, known for their extensive list of great wide receivers in just the Saban era. I mean, Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, Devonta Smith all come to mind right away. But you look at Auburn and doing that, and if you look at guys like Caleb Cunningham that Auburn's really trying to get, that as last time I heard, I don't know if it's changed since then, Auburn's number 1 on his list. It's Auburn and Mississippi State are both battling out really hard for Caleb Cunningham. And with potential and like looking at potential, Auburn is probably one of the better spots from the land out of those 2. I don't think Mississippi State's going to be a bad team per se, but they're going in the first year of a first-time head coach and trying to really rebuild the roster from what happened last year. And overall, Auburn, it seems to be a lot of guys in the top 5s and top 4s now, and guys who probably didn't even think about Auburn in the past. Like I know he already signed with Alabama, and he's already off in heavily recruited Ryan Williams, but Jalen Mbakwe, true freshman 5-star defensive back at Alabama, he talked about how he never even got a phone call from the previous administration at Auburn. But as soon as Hugh Freeze comes down, he's trying to flip him from Alabama right away. And of course, it didn't work then, but that's an example of guys not hearing from Auburn, and now they are. You're seeing. I know that Potato Guy had a mantra, not recruiting the best guys, but the right guys, which is baffling to me. Because you're supposed to get the best guys and turn them into the right guys, as how like I don't know development works. But now you're seeing that happen. You're seeing the Cam Coleman, the Perry Thompsons flipping from these other big time schools that have had more success than Auburn in recent years. Look at DeMarcus Riddick. He was going to go to Georgia, but Auburn brought him back in. Perry Thompson committed to Alabama, Auburn flipped him. Cam Coleman committed to Texas A&M, Auburn flipped him. Walker White was seen by a lot of people as a Clemson lock, and now he is flipped, and now he signed with Auburn. Now he is here with the entirety of the class 2024. You're seeing that more and more and more and more, and you're seeing that with guys like Alvin Henderson, who was committed to Penn State, but then he came out and talked about how Auburn was just always there, always in his ear, always like, all right, hey, we still want you if you were to flip, if you wanted to decommit. And like Malik Autry is going off and going to other visits as well, like at Florida. He was at USC this past weekend. But Auburn's still like, hey, you're our guy. You're going to help build this defensive line. I mean, him and Malik Blockton are going to be two stud level D linemen in the future. I am so excited for Malik Autry and Malik Blockton to play together. That is just an outstanding like gaze into the future for me. And then like you're bringing in guys who have Auburn ties as well. Caleb Falk is Auburn's number 2 player in the class 2025. Keldrick Falk was Auburn's top player in the class 2023. You're seeing that more and more, and now you're seeing guys that want to play for Auburn, that are committed to Auburn and staying to Auburn. Malik Autry's been committed to Auburn since class 2022, and that's crazy to me. Is I don't even know if it's class 2022. I know it's class 23. He committed 2 years ago, and he is stuck with Auburn despite Texas, despite Florida, despite USC, despite all these other big time schools. Again, I'm not going to throw USC and Florida into that, but I have had Texas has had more recent success than Auburn has. They've won their conference. Florida has been pretty on par with Auburn. I wouldn't say recently, because I don't think they're going to have a coach much longer. And USC is like one of the best places for a recruit to go for both like NIL purposes. But you're seeing that. I mean, Auburn now with I guess Malik Autry does count as a 5-star, but he's composite, so they don't count him as just over. I don't know if they count composite, but he does have his 5th star, and hopefully they hurry up and everyone else gets on it and gives him that 5th star as well, so Auburn jumps up a little bit more. But like Caleb Falk, Eric Winters, Jordan Crawford, Malik Autry, those are the top 4 players in Auburn's recruiting class. Those guys are all from the state of Alabama. That's Opelika, that's Highland Home, Enterprise, Birmingham, and then you go a little bit further down, and you have Mobile, you have Card A. Smith, you have Alvin Henderson from Elba, you have guys like that, you have Spencer Dowland from Athens, Alabama. So it is such just a breath of fresh air to watch Auburn win the state of Alabama, Auburn win recruiting battles against I don't want to say higher end teams. That's not what I'm not going to say that whatsoever. But against teams that past 5 years, Auburn wouldn't have been in those battles. Auburn wouldn't have been anywhere close to it. And Auburn finally doing that, which is just so awesome to see. I know we just kind of rambling about how great Auburn recruiting is, but it's just so awesome to see. And Auburn's not done yet. That's the great thing about having this staff in place. That's the great part about having Auburn in the pinnacle, Auburn having all these guys who were committed to Auburn and wanted to recruit for Auburn. Auburn's not done yet. Auburn has plenty of guys who are going to be here this weekend, next weekend, the week after. Big Cat Weekend is going to be absolutely ridiculous. I'm already in the process trying to make a lot of graphics ahead of time so I can have those made, because I'm expecting to be extremely busy for Big Cat Weekend. I think Big Cat Weekend this year is going to be a lot bigger than Big Cat Weekend was last year. And that's saying a lot, because Auburn picked up Perry Thompson last Big Cat Weekend. I am just so stoked to see how this all pans out in the future. I'm so excited to see what happens for the rest of this recruiting class. And I'm so excited to see which guys from the next year's recruiting class go ahead and commit to Auburn now and get started on picking up more guys for class 2026. Again, as it stands right now, Auburn stands as the number 5 class in this year's recruiting class. And right now, number 10 in next year's, but they only have 2. Only have 2 commits. That's going to change probably a couple months. Auburn's already favored to get Anquan Figa for class 2025 at the end of next month. So, going to be a lot of fun. Super excited. Super stoked. I've been rambling about this for 15 minutes. That's how excited I am for watching Auburn recruiting just become this absolute powerhouse that we have just come to know now. It's like a new terrain that we had that Auburn has seen before but haven't seen since. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move into the last part. We're going to talk about today on today's show. More recruiting news for Auburn softball. Finally going to the transfer portal realm. Hallelujah. Let's go. But before we get to that part, let's go ahead and get to the ad read where y'all got there's some merch available from us that y'all can grab and support the show even more. So with that, we'll be right back after this ad.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
Of course, $25 each on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. Hats on the first page, shirts on the second page. Best way to support the show. Second best way to support the show, really. After, of course, liking and subscribing and commenting your thoughts on Auburn football, Auburn baseball, Auburn basketball, Auburn softball, of course, we'll be talking about in just a second. But yeah, just great news from all around. But the Malveaux have started recruiting the transfer portal. We knew it was going to happen eventually, but now we finally got some news, as I'm hopefully going to say this name right on the first try. So wish me luck. S.J. Guerin, I'm going to assume, until I am proven otherwise. I'm going to say Guerin until said otherwise. Last year for the Oklahoma Sooners, the national championship winning Oklahoma Sooners, she appeared in 10 innings with a 0.7 ERA. Also had 9 strikeouts. Just overall, a very talented young pitcher. She's a left-handed pitcher. Last year, even though she only played 10 innings, she still had a very nice fielding percentage of just 1, which is the best you can possibly do. Seen as a top 10 pitcher from her recruiting class by words are hard. First inning, extra inning softball. There we go. Great pickup. Outstanding pickup. You lost Maddie Pinta, lost Shelby Lowe to graduation. Maddie Pinta, of course, now playing professional softball, playing very well, I might add. But this is the first stepping stone for the Malveaux to get Auburn going in the right direction. They've helped out Tennessee get to the top over the past few years, and they've helped a lot of other schools perform very well. And they're picking up great coaches to go alongside of them. So now you're really seeing that staff kind of get to work on building this Auburn roster into what they want it to be. Auburn didn't lose a ton of players in the portal as they did last year. I think Mariah Pinto was like the only one. I think I could be wrong about that. So fact check me. But Auburn probably going to get some more players in the portal. Auburn probably going to try to incorporate the last year's roster and kind of develop them into a better overall team, which is what you want a new coach to do. And that's what I expect the Malveaux to do. They were very good in what they did at Tennessee. They coached very well what Auburn didn't do well last year, which is scoring runs and hitting the ball. So you're going to see that a lot more. And hopefully you see, I don't think Auburn's going to go into the transfer portal and pick up like 7, 8, 9 players. I think maybe 2, 3 more at the most. Just trying to really build up the roster and kind of turn it into what they see is a World Series level roster, which is what you want to see. I think SJ is a great pickup for him. I think you're looking at a like Melina Tambora is going in probably your number one option, and then Emma Rolfe, and then you have AB. But if you have someone in between them who can get you, I mean, AB had a great couple of games, but I think her instincts are I think she's a great third baseman for Auburn to start off with. I think that AB should be your fourth option overall. And I honestly, with what I've seen from SJ and what I've heard about her talent she is, there's a chance you could see SJ and Melena kind of be your 1-2 punch, and then have Emma come in and just close out, which is kind of what you want to see. You want to see those strong two arms that Auburn has been known for the past like 4 or 5 years at this point with Shelby and Maddie, and kind of incorporate that more. I think that, of course, if you could have a three-headed monster with Emma, Melena, and SJ just day after day after day, that's a series where you don't have a tired arm. And of course, you have AB to come in and kind of help out and relieve some of the pains that are going to come from some of the games. I mean, last year Maddie pitched, I had I think 2 games where she pitched over 100 times. Don't want that. Don't want to injure your players. Don't do that ever to your players. But it's a great first pickup. And of course, they're not done yet. The same thing with Auburn football. They ain't finished yet. So super excited to see how she performs. Can't wait to see. I've yet to watch the full press conference from the Malveaux, so I'm going to do that. But as I finish talking now, this is going to do it for this installment of the College Loop Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We are officially over 800 subscribers on YouTube. I cannot thank y'all enough for the growth of the show, just in general. We quite literally could not record, make, post, do anything without the help and support of all of you that tune in every single Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So we'll be back on the Tuesday show to preview Auburn's first SEC game against the Arkansas Razorbacks, and what is going to be Auburn's season opener in the SEC. So with all that being said, thanks for tuning into this installment of the College Loop Podcast. Of course, there are plenty of other ways you can watch the show as well. There's the YouTube channel where, again, you should like, comment, subscribe. Y'all have been doing a lot of subscribing, which I love so much. But there's also trying to see my face, completely understandable. There's audio versions of the show as well on Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and of course, Amazon Music. And of course, you have our social medias on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the works, all this at The College Loop. And of course, we do the daily countdowns of how many days to Auburn football comes back. Of course, today is 69 days. That's a nice amount of days remaining. Tomorrow is 68. And then you can follow along all throughout the remainder of the offseason, because we're only a couple months away from college football being back. It's the greatest time of the year. So, with all being said, thanks for tuning in. I'm Dylan Larck. Again, @boytank on Twitter and Dylan Larck on Instagram. Follow me there as well. And with all that being said, thanks for tuning in. War Eagle. And this has been the College Loop Podcast.